Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
This is Mr. Chris Claremont, a legend.
Melanie goes,
Tired.
what's going on, all you Minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for your advanced look at the Black Cat by Jed Mackay Omnibus from Marvel Comics. So stay tuned. And welcome back, everybody. Now, before getting started, I do want to give David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel a huge thank you for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on July 18th or 19th, depending on where you get your books. And what we're looking at here is the direct market cover. On the left-hand side is your standard edition cover. The direct market cover supplied by In-Hyuk Lee, and the standard edition supplied by Pepe Larraz. But let's shift the focus back to this because everything underneath the dust jacket is the same. And this was previously collected in a series of trade paperbacks. So you have 6 trade paperbacks here and the Iron Cat miniseries. So to kind of give you a better idea, all these trades are collected in this omnibus. So here's your direct market cover, again supplied by In-Hyuk Lee, written by Jed Mackay and Michael Dowling. Travel Foreman, Pepe Perez, and CF Villa are the main artists on the book. Here's the spine, Marvel Omnibus, Black Cat by Jed Mackay and Michael Dowling. Travel Foreman, Pepe Perez, and CF Villa. And of course, that picture of Felicia down there. And then we have some love for Black Cat, the ISBN, retail price being $100, and just a little blurb about what the Black Cat Omnibus is. So underneath the dust jacket, really interesting design. Here's what the flaps look like. On the left, again, a little bit of what the story's about, and on the right is the creators. But underneath the dust jacket is a white cat, not a black cat silhouette. But this is really unique. It's not like she turns into a cat, or does she? I don't know. Maybe. One way to find out. But yeah, I've never seen that type of design underneath the dust jacket, where it really doesn't show anything about the character. But Black Cat logo there, and yeah, nothing on the back. So we're going to open this book up, see if it has heavy ties to Spider-Man, as most people probably expect, what exactly the premise of the book is, and show off this beautiful artwork. So, I guess without going any further, though, maybe some minor spoilers as to what the premise is of the Black Cat comics going in here. Okay, let's go ahead and crack it open. Some Black Ant sheets, of course. Black Cat by Jed Mackay, his very first omnibus. Hoping to see a Moon Knight and other works of his one day. Here is the credit. Like, you have the credit page over here on the left and on the right, all written by Jed Mackay, but they do include the artist throughout here. And you'll see something that I'm sure when I announce this confused some people, and I'll just explain a little bit. You have Black Cat, the 2019 series 1 through 12, and then you have again Black Cat 1 through 10, but this time around from 2020. This series ended, and what they decided to do was continue the Black Cat story. At first, it was going to be a mini-series with the King in Black, and then they decided to expand it because there was so much love from the fan base that they were like, we want to see this continue. So they decided to make it an ongoing series. So yes, this is the original series that ended in 2019, and then when it was relaunched in 2020. You also have the Iron Cat mini-series here. So what does this collect? Again, it collects the Black Cat 2019 series 1 through 12, annual number 1 from that series, annual number 2, well, that got renamed to something else, and we'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. Also collects Black Cat, the 2020 series 1 through 10. So it has the Black Cat annual number 1 from the 2020 series, and giant size Black Cat Infinity Score number 1, Iron Cat 1 through 5, the miniseries, and then material from Free Comic Book Day 2020 Spider-Man Venom, and that's the Patrick Gleason story. So here we are with Felicia Hardy back at it. The book, by the way, has 784 pages and retails for $100. So she's back, and I remember when the series got announced, a lot of people were like, well, okay, this is probably tying heavily into the Spider-Man run that was going on at the time. But there's very little Spider-Man. I can only think of like 2 different stories in here that Spider-Man shows up, and they're not big story arcs. One of them is an annual, which kind of takes place before the main series. What this focuses on, though, is the return of Felicia Hardy and how she ends up being wanted by the New York Thieves Guild. And the boss is right here. This is Odessa Drake, who has ties to Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat. Now, when she first appears in this particular series, she's out for a heist. She wants to steal a painting, and she's teamed up with a couple of people that you may remember from her past. Boris Corpse and Bruno Granger. Both characters appeared all the way back in Amazing Spider-Man 194, created by Marv Wolfman and Keith Pollard. So around the same time that she appeared along with her dad. And they're back now, and they're all part of her team, her heist team, about stealing a particular item from this party. So at first she's dressed in this stunning outfit to go into this party to steal this painting, and then she comes out in her Black Cat outfit. She's being chased by Sonny, who's kind of like a security guard for this particular place, but used to run with the dark side. That sounds like vampires. I'll get there. Used to run around with the bad crowd. Now, there's a couple of extra stories all the way in the back. But before I talk about the stories in the back of the first issue, by the way, I wanted to talk about the return of this character right here. This is the Black Fox, a character from Amazing Spider-Man, who was pretty much her father's teacher. When she first appeared, her father was around, and this is the guy that taught them how to steal. So not only her father's mentor, but her mentor. And then also Tamara's mentor, who's a character from Felicia's past. So there's a little bit of a backup stories here, but the big one is the one with the Black Fox, where he rips off Dracula. And that will come into play later on. It's a flashback story that features Felicia's dad, and that comes into play later on. Now, the stories here, there's an overall arc, but they also feel like standalone stories where she's going on different heists. She's trying to do different jobs, mainly for the Black Fox at first, and then other people. This particular one in the second issue is where they break into the Sanctum Sanctorum, and that's where Doctor Strange lives, and she meets Bats there, and Bats, of course, is the little basset hound that was first introduced in the pages of Donny Cates' run on Doctor Strange. There's this guy, Xander the Merciless, that's like a homeless guy that's taking them there. There's a little bit of a twist with his particular story. So they go on different heists from time to time, infiltrating the Fantastic Four to go and recover a particular book that the Black Fox wants. And there's sometimes mystical elements in this. There's some supernatural stuff. There's sci-fi stories in here. And this was just overall such a fun series. I really enjoyed this. And I knew I wasn't the only one reading it, because after the first 12 issues, fans demanded more. She's got the Thieves Guild after her. She's got her past coming back to haunt her. She's obviously hooking up with the wrong people like Patrick here, and you'll see later on. But, she's got this past where she was a hero at one time. She teams up with the new Beetle. She's got this beautiful relationship with her mom, and how her mom feels about what she does, and of course, her father, and, her relationship with her father in the past. So there's some flashback stuff in here that kind of fills in this, fleshing out the character more than just being a supporting cast in the pages of Spider-Man. And it's not the first time she's actually had her own series. I mean, she's had a mini series, and then she had a couple of one-shots, but it's her first ongoing. Yes, there's a team-up with Wolverine, because why the hell not? He's Patch at first, and then he's Wolvie. Covers are supplied by Jeffrey Scott Campbell at first, until we get to the second series. This is the annual. Now, it's really interesting, because the way this is mapped, I'm thinking some people might be confused. Why is the annual here if it takes place before the first issue. And it's done in the way that these were published. So it's here because it was published after those storylines. And that's okay because it makes sense. It can work as a flashback. It can really be read at any time. And then we have the Free Comic Book Day 2020 with a story with the Vulture here to team up with Spider-Man. Like I said, Spider-Man playing a very minor role in Felicia Hardy's life. And then we have this second story arc. So this second ongoing series, 1 through 10, this one feels like it's more of an overall arc because of something that she stole in the first story arc for the Black Fox, and then why the Black Fox wanted it. And it's got some twists and turns, and of course some betrayals. And I think it's got a beautiful, bittersweet moment. But of course, just like everything else that was happening at the time at Marvel Comics, it has ties in, that's Uncanny Omar Talk Pretty One Day, tie-ins to the King in Black. So it is the Queen in Black storyline. And yes, there's a whole Infinity storyline. There's this character of the Queen Cat. You can find out who that is by reading the book and what ties she has and who she might have been in the past. And it might surprise some people as to who she is because she's been around since, I think, like, when was it, 2006, 2007. She's a character from J. Michael Straczynski's run that has had different personas. So now she's coming in as the Queen Cat. This is annual number 2, and it's interesting because towards the end of the first run, so issue number 12, they talk about a second annual. And if you're reading these, you're going to notice that, hey, there is no second annual. What the heck? But this is the team up with the White Fox and her team right here of the Tiger Division. And that was supposed to be an annual number 2 that took place immediately right before issue number 12 of the first ongoing series. However, COVID slowed things down, so it wasn't released until much later. So they did put it here towards the tail end of the book. And then you have the Infinity Score storyline, which ends up being the last story arc through here that kicks off with the giant, or actually ends with the giant size issue. So it's all about, yes, collecting the Infinity Stones and who has them. I can't believe I called them stones, but I think that's what most people coming from the movies are familiar with. The Infinity Gems. You all know what I mean. And then you have the Iron Cat miniseries, because in the first 12 issues, towards the end, you have Felicia stealing some Stark technology and becomes the Iron Cat, if you will. However, when you get to the miniseries, someone else has stolen the technology and become the Iron Cat. And when you find out why, you'll see how it all ties together to Felicia Hardy. I wanted to come back here towards the beginning because I wanted to showcase the artwork. Because I've talked about Jed Mackay's writing, and I'll talk a little bit more about it here in a few. But the art here by Travel Foreman and Chael Downing and Chris Anka and CF Villa, and even the annuals by Joey Vasquez, it really feels like it's the same artist. And I think a lot of that has to do with the colors by Brian Reber. Brian Reber supplies the colors for most of the book, and I feel like he kind of just ties it all together. They all do have a very similar style. It reminds me a lot of that Chris Anka style, and some of them are more detailed than others. Travel Foreman, I think, being the least detailed, and that's, you know, it's nothing negative about his art, but it's not as detailed as Villa's art, for example, or even Chris Anka's artwork. But it does seem like it's, okay, with the exception of Patrick Gleason's art, because he just really stands out. Seems like it's just one consistent artist throughout the whole thing. And I like that about books like this. That the art styles are so similar that it does feel like you're reading the same artist or the same creative team. Of course, it helps that all of it is tied together by the colors and, of course, the wonderful script by Jed Mackay. So let's look at the extras. So here are some beautiful variant covers. So all part of the extras. And what I was saying is, yes, this was such a fun series. And I was glad to see that they kept bringing it back, whether it was a mini-series at first or an ongoing series. I was just glad that Felicia kept coming back. And I don't want to say it's a fresh take on the character, because she has been written this way in the past. but it feels like she's more independent. And wow, that cover, woo! Carnage ain't ever looked that good. Whoa, Jen Bartel, my goodness, what the hell was I saying? Yes, that it's nothing new that hasn't been written in the past, but it feels like Jed Mackay got to play with the character for so long that it does kind of feel like a new type of take on Felicia. There are some twists and turns in here that I really enjoyed, some things from her past. I don't want to call them retcons because she's had such an extensive past that you can kind of go in and fill in some of the stories from her past with newer things like Jen Mackay was doing through these pages. There's a lot of variants. Mamma mia. Whoa. A lot of Spider-Man in here for a character that doesn't really appear through these pages. And there are some gorgeous, gorgeous covers back here. So, that's an awesome one. There's concept art too. Not just concept stories, but here's designs by C.F. Villa of Iron Cat. Characters that appear through the annual, thumbnail sketches, to layouts, to finished inks. Not just for covers, but internal artwork. A lot of extras. And then your end sheets. Let's take a look at the binding and talk about the build. 784 pages. It is sewn binding. Printed at the iMac printer. Might be my copy, but this one has slick paper. It doesn't have that dirt feel to it. I know everybody's copy is different. There is some bleed through, though. Let's go back to the very first page. You can see some of the borders from the frame around the cover coming through. It's kind of like what we've seen in the past. If it's got lighter colors or if it's white, you can see some of the art from the opposite page come through, like the word bubbles here or the frames. And here's another one. So it doesn't necessarily have to be white. It can be light colors too. Let's see if we can find. Being Black Cat, she does most of her thieving at night. So here we go. Yeah, that's also a white page. I wanted to show a little bit of the lighter colors. Maybe I'm trying to find a blue or maybe something like this. Yeah, like this yellow. You can see a little bit of the frames. Again, doesn't bother everybody, but it does bother some people. And the way the book lays over, you have some minor gutter loss. The covers are all around a frame with this pattern right here. Looks like an actual painting frame. Here we go. Here's a spread page of Iron Cat with Odessa Drake. And to hold it down a little bit to see her whole fist. So it's minor gutter loss like that. Now, do Black Cat and Odessa work out their problems? Or is the Thieves Guild always going to be after her? What other Easter eggs are you going to find through these pages? What other characters? What other enemies show up through here? Yeah, one way to find out. I went through the different story arcs with really no spoilers, or minor spoilers at that, but to kind of give you an idea as to what kind of stories you're going to find through here. It's a fun book and definitely recommended. But that, as they say, is that. Don't forget to check out our sponsors. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. Let me know in the comments down below if you are picking this up on a complete blind because you are a fan of the Black Cat.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. Or you've enjoyed other Jed Mackay's work, or if you have already read it and you're upgrading your trades or your single issues, and if you have read it, what do you think of the story? If you have any questions, leave your questions down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. Everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.